Spoilers ahead. Watch out, and take care. The movie begins with a security guard working at a bank in London. He was once a former American federal agent. However, in order to participate in the witness protection program, he had to abandon his previous position, alter his real name, and relocate from America to London. Martin Parker is his true name. He changed his name to Thomas Mackenzie while residing in London. Thomas now lives alone with his 8-year-old daughter, Carly. His morning routine is typical of any parent in general. He gets his kid up in the morning, drives her to school, returns to work. He spends a lot of time at the security post, reading magazines, and watching CCTV footage at work. He returns home in the afternoon and accompanies his daughter to bed. When he enters the dining room, he notices the reflection of the car's headlights, beaming brightly towards his house. He dashes over to see who has arrived. However, just as he is ready to open the door, some masked men burst in and batter him with a baseball bat. Fighting erupts from the living room to the dining room, where Thomas fights the 3 robbers alone, until knocked out. Thomas wakes up from his trance not long after. He instantly asks the 3 thieves who had just attacked him why they had ganged up on him. Finally, one of the robbers removes his mask and states that they want the coke package from Thomas' house. Thomas, who has no knowledge of the coke delivery, inquires that perhaps they have the wrong address. The 3 are not convinced and threaten to kill Carly. Then Thomas asks them to read his name off his house's electrical bill. Finally, the 3 realize they are at the wrong address. The robbers who had removed their masks appear stunned. They are confident that Thomas would report him to the police. As a result, they intend to continue to kill him. As the situation worsens, he steals a revolver from one of the masked thieves waiting nearby, and shoots the 3 one by one. After things have cooled down, Thomas plans to go to the police station and report the attack at his house. He collapses again while dialing on his cell phone, as a result of the tremendous hits he got during the attack. Carly screams for her father, and the sound of police car sirens could be heard outside the house. Thomas is in the hospital the next day, with one of his hands tied to the side of the bed. Soon, a detective inspector named Quinn arrives, and informs him that he has been arrested for the murder of 3 foreign guys in his home. The charges startle Thomas, who claims he killed the 3 thieves in self-defense. Quinn further states that he could not be identified, indicating he is an unlawful resident. The detective reveals that Carly had been under surveillance at Child Social Services. While watching TV in the evening, Thomas watches a news broadcast with his real name and a photo of himself. Before relocating to London, his profile is also covered in the news. Later, a female nurse enters his treatment room, and hands him a phone, claiming that his lawyer would call. Ray Monroe, an old buddy of Thomas's federal agency, is discovered to be the culprit. Ray states that he is on his way to London, and would see him at the hospital in 2 hours. Ray informs them that he would be obliged to expose Thomas' true name to the London police, in order for him to be released. During the call, Thomas borrows a pen and paper, to jot down Ray's phone number. Then he drops the pen by accident, so he could use the paperclip. As soon as a police officer and nurse exit his room, he uses the clip to easily unlock the handcuffs. Then he attacks a police officer standing in front of his room, and he quickly knocks out 2 additional officers standing guard in the hospital hallway. Elsewhere, a meeting between 2 high-class mafias from America and Cooper's illicit arms dealer is also observed in a room. The 2 mobsters are enraged, and demand their money back, since the guns they purchased from Cooper were of low quality. Cooper demonstrates the weapon he was selling, pointing a gun at the 2 mobsters. It turns out the gun works well, and the 2 mobsters are slain as a result. Cooper's assistant, a sadistic-looking woman, enters the room and shows the news about Thomas on her phone. The assistant informs that Thomas has arrived in England. Cooper turns out to be Thomas' father-in-law, and he aims to murder his son-in-law, in order to abduct Carly, who he plans to make the successor of his arms firm in the future. Cooper soon contacts a well-known assassin in mainland Europe, named Bishop. Cooper requests that he murder his son-in-law, and kidnap his granddaughter unharmed. With his big compensation, Bishop agrees to the request right away. He promptly traces Thomas' location in London. Carly is accompanied at a child welfare department by a female detective agent, named Stacy. Inspector Quinn, a fellow detective who interrogated Thomas at the hospital, enters the room, and informs Stacy that they will be leaving and taking Carly to another location. Thomas arrives shortly after they left, and knocks out a male receptionist. According to the information he receives from the receptionist, his daughter is on the 3rd level. He notices Bishop hacking into the computer in a room on his way up. Bishop has also slain a guy, according to the reflection in the glass. When Thomas notices this, he dashes out of the room. Bishop rushes brandishing a revolver. He searches every story of the building for Thomas. Thomas discovers that he has returned to the chamber, where he saw Bishop earlier. Then he examines the computer database for information about his daughter. He promptly removes his daughter's data from the computer, and smashes Bishop's phone, which was used to hack the computer. Then he dashes out of the building, and into a taxi parked directly in front of it. Soon, Bishop emerges, cursing as he notices Thomas has escaped in a taxi, and instantly pursues in his high-tech vehicle. He is able to locate and communicate with the taxi driver, using the computer in his car. He poses as a police officer, and warns that the passenger the taxi driver is transporting is a wanted criminal. Then he requests the driver to pull over to a gas station, so he could arrest him. The unwitting cab driver follows the instructions, and pulls over at a gas station. When Bishop gets to the gas station, he notices that there is no one in the taxi. He goes into the gas station office to go over the CCTV tape. In the video, Thomas can be seen getting out of the taxi, and jumping into the rear of the yellow truck that had been parked there. Bishop pursues the yellow truck right away. As he gets closer, Thomas realizes Bishop is in the rear of the truck, chasing him. He leaps out of the vehicle, and crashes into a cable car not far. He spots two burly men and a businessman, as he boards the cable car. Bishop, who is late for the cable car, pulls out a wad of cash, and offers the men in the cable car a $10,000 reward, if they can knock Thomas out. Hearing the gifts, the two hefty men spring onto the running cable car, and attack Thomas without thinking. A brawl breaks out between them, while the other passenger, a businessman, appears cornered and terrified. Thomas manages to knock the two big men unconscious. Soon after, he borrows a phone and calls Ray, who agrees to meet him at the cable car station in 4 minutes. Ray accelerates quickly to meet his colleague on time. Bishop, it turns out, is also waiting for him at the station, fully armed. When Thomas emerges, Bishop continues to shoot at him, until he runs into the street. Fortunately, Ray arrives just in time, and Thomas dashes into his car. He notices Thomas is injured by Bishop's gunshot, and drives Thomas to an apartment, where he treats the wound. When Ray and Thomas arrive at the flat, Ray's supervisor calls to alert him that the guy targeting Thomas is named Bishop, a former military man turned dangerous assassin. It turns out Ray and his superiors protected Thomas, because they intend to arrest Cooper, who was implicated in America's largest illicit arms sales case. In other news, Bishop continues to use his car's advanced computer to track down Thomas and Ray. With the GPS, he is able to track Ray's car. He rushes to the apartment where they are hiding. As Thomas and Ray prepare to leave to hunt for Carly, they are stopped in the corridor by Bishop, who emerges from the elevator, and fires at them. They avoid hiding behind the hallway doors, and return to their rooms. They then steal a weapon stockpile and attack Bishop. A shootout is unavoidable, with Bishop continually firing at them, and Ray is unfortunately hit by a shot. Thomas rushes Ray to the car, and the two of them flee the apartment. Ray unfortunately cannot be saved, he bleeds and dies in the car. Meanwhile, Bishop pursues and is eventually able to locate the car parked in the aisle. When he goes down and looks, he only finds Ray's body in the car, no sign of Thomas. He goes back to his car, and notices Thomas in the rearview mirror, with a gun pointed at his neck, and tells him to keep driving to a pier. At the dock, he is roped to a wooden post. Thomas requests he call Cooper, and inform him that he murdered Thomas, and kidnapped Carly. During the talk, Bishop manages to undo the ropes, hiding a small knife inside his glove. The conflict erupts once more. They fight with similar ferocity on the pier. Thomas ultimately pushes Bishop, kicking him hard into the sea. He jumps in Bishop's car, and drives about looking for his daughter. Elsewhere, Cooper appears to have found Carly's hiding place. He and his crew are capable of taking out the cops and Stacy. Cooper persuades Carly to accompany him. Meanwhile, Thomas, who has also arrived at Carly's hideout, notices a large number of Cooper's men stationed outside, and kills the soldiers one by one. Surprisingly, just as he is ready to enter, Bishop challenges him once more, and a fight erupts once more, and Bishop gets killed. Thomas picks up a knife, and enters a room where Carly is spotted with Cooper and his assistant. With a revolver drawn, Thomas demands that Cooper release Carly. Cooper quickly rises up, and tells Thomas to point his gun at his daughter. He throws his rifle on the floor, seeing his terrified daughter, and throws the knife he had taken, then jumps to get his gun, and fires a quick shot back at Cooper's aide. As it turns out, the knife strikes Cooper in the stomach, and he dies soon after. Carly rushes over to her father, and hugs him. The end. Thank you for watching. Subscribe us for more videos.